What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. Petr Yan has made a bold statement about his previous fight with Merab, claiming he was only at 50% during their first encounter. The two faced off back in 2023, where Merab secured a dominant unanimous decision win. Now with a potential rematch being discussed for UFC 323 in December, Yan is determined to show the world a completely different version of himself. While defending the bantamweight title against Corey Sandhagen, Merab had already mentioned that he wanted to rematch Yan. The timing seems to line up perfectly, as the UFC has a major card set for December 7th. Yan recently appeared on the Ariel Helwani show, where he openly admitted that he was far from his best when they first fought. He said he was only operating at 50% and that the rematch will be a completely different story. Yan has made it clear he wants to stay active. After his last fight, he expressed his desire to compete again before the end of the year. He also mentioned wanting to break the record for the most title defenses in a single calendar year. At the moment, he has 3, which is already impressive. Only a handful of fighters in UFC history have reached that mark. But Yan wants to go for a 4th, and the only realistic chance to achieve that is on the December 7th card. When asked about the quick turnaround, Yan showed no hesitation. He said it's possible, as long as there are no injuries and everything aligns with the UFC's plans. He emphasized that he's been waiting for this moment, and he's ready to step back into the octagon in just 2 months. Yan added that this fight has real history behind it. The first time, he was not 100%, but this time things will be different. He promised a great and exciting fight for the fans. This rematch could be one of the most anticipated bantamweight clashes of the year. With Merab's relentless pressure and Yan's sharp striking, their first meeting was intense. But now, with both fighters in top shape, the stakes are even higher. Yan seems confident, motivated, and ready to prove himself when the cage door closes in December. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, DC has shared new details surrounding Magomed Ankalaev's rib injury that came to light just hours after UFC 320. The now former light heavyweight champion's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, revealed that Ankalaev entered the rematch already injured. Shortly after, a clip surfaced online showing him receiving injections to the rib area just weeks before the fight, sparking a wave of debate among fans. Some questioned the legitimacy of the injury, with others suggesting it may have happened mid-fight when Pereira landed brutal elbows to the ribs while on the canvas. DC stepped in to clear the air, assuring everyone that the injury is very real and serious. In a video on his YouTube channel, DC said that Magomed Ankalaev was dealing with a legitimate rib issue and that this was not a lie or an excuse. He explained that he had personally seen footage before the fight, showing Ankalaev getting injections in his ribs to help him manage the pain and make it to fight night. According to DC, Ankalaev was only able to hit pads and do light cardio for about a month and a half leading up to the event. Despite the injury, Ankalaev made the decision to compete. DC also revealed that people very close to Ankalaev had advised him not to take the fight. They knew the severity of the injury and understood that stepping into the cage with Pereira in that condition could be risky. But Ankalaev insisted on fighting. He wanted to beat Pereira again, fully aware of how important this fight was for his legacy. A second win over Pereira would have been a powerful statement, solidifying his status as one of the best in the division. DC also admitted that even if Ankalaev had been completely healthy, he's not sure the outcome would have changed. Pereira came in with a sharp game plan, fought aggressively, and delivered damaging shots throughout the fight. While the rib injury was clearly a major factor, DC didn't dismiss Pereira's performance. Ankalaev wasn't at 100%, and everyone around him knew it, but he pushed through, showing the kind of toughness and determination that defines a true fighter. DC's comments shed light on what was really going on behind the scenes, putting to rest a lot of speculation. In the end, Ankalaev took a risk, and Pereira took full advantage on fight night. Moving on to another news, Gilbert Burns has shared his prediction for the upcoming clash between Charles Oliveira and Mateusz Gamrot at UFC Rio, and he's confident that Oliveira will finish the fight. Burns believes Gamrot has very little to no chance of ending the fight in a striking exchange, while Oliveira holds a clear advantage on the feet and on the ground. He explained that he doesn't see this fight going to the judges' scorecards. In his view, Charles will get the finish. Burns broke it down in detail, saying that even if the fight goes to a decision, he still believes Oliveira has the tools to win. But in his eyes, the most likely outcome is a stoppage. He explained that the easiest path to victory for Charles is to defend the takedowns and pick Gamrot apart on the feet. If he can keep the fight standing and stuff the attempts, much like Benny Dariush did in his previous matchup, then he can dominate. Burns added that Charles has heavier hands, sharper striking, and far more dangerous jiu-jitsu, which gives him multiple ways to finish. Burns also pointed out how Oliveira can hurt Gamrot standing and then capitalize on it. He said if Charles lands something big, he can swarm him with ground and pound or lock up a submission. Whether it's a choke, a guillotine, or something slick from his back, Burns sees plenty of finishing scenarios. He made it clear that Oliveira's fight IQ and finishing instincts are at a different level. When the conversation shifted to whether Gamrot could possibly catch Charles, Burns dismissed the idea quickly, saying, "No way, no way, no way." He stood firm on his belief that Gamrot doesn't have the kind of power or timing to put Oliveira away. Others on the panel teased him, joking about calling Charles and telling him someone doubted him, but Burns doubled down on his take. For Burns, Oliveira is simply too dangerous. He's seen what Charles can do when he smells blood, and he believes that the Brazilian will find a way to end it, either through strikes or his elite-level submission game. As the fight draws near, this prediction only adds more heat to an already explosive matchup at UFC Rio. Moving on to another news, Carlos Ulberg has spoken out about Jiri Prochazka's actions during and after the main event at UFC 320, and it's clear he wasn't impressed. Prochazka's emotional reaction to Alex Pereira's knockout win went viral online, but according to Ulberg, it wasn't just what happened after the fight that caught his attention. It was also how Prochazka conducted himself before and during the walkouts that rubbed some fighters the wrong way. Ulberg, who recently staked his claim for the next title shot after knocking out Dominic Reyes the weekend before UFC 320, was cage-side in Las Vegas for the event. During an appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, Ulberg shared how things looked from his point of view. He explained that Prochazka arrived at the arena after his own fight, as expected, riding high on a big win. Ulberg said that was completely fine, but what followed was a bit strange. He described how Prochazka came in and stood right in front of a group of fighters and officials near the walkout area, essentially blocking their view as the main event fighters were making their way out. Ulberg said it felt odd, because it was a moment that should have belonged entirely to Pereira and Ankalaev as they were preparing for their rematch. Instead, Prochazka positioned himself in a way that drew attention to him at a time when the focus should have been elsewhere. Ulberg didn't attack him personally, but made it clear he felt it was unnecessary. He said it would have been better if Prochazka had stepped back and let the fighters walking out have their moment without distractions. He added that everyone was trying to focus on the intensity of the matchup, and having someone stand directly in front of them created a weird dynamic. Still, Ulberg acknowledged that this might just be how Prochazka carries himself. He called it his take and said that while it wasn't something he personally liked, it's ultimately up to him. Prochazka is known for his eccentric personality and unpredictable behavior, which often draws attention whether he intends to or not. For Ulberg, it was less about disrespect and more about respecting the moment. He believes the fighters in the main event should have had the spotlight entirely on them as they prepared to walk into battle. His comments give a behind-the-scenes look at the kind of small details fighters notice on fight night that fans don't always see. Moving on to another news, Charles Oliveira is throwing his name into the mix for one of the most talked about potential events in UFC history. The former lightweight champion has made it clear that he wants a super fight with Conor at the UFC White House card, which is rumored to take place on the same day as Donald Trump's birthday. Oliveira, who is currently focused on his upcoming fight this weekend, still took the opportunity to shoot his shot at the golden goose of combat sports. Speaking at UFC Rio Media Day, Oliveira didn't hold back. He said this is the kind of moment that every fighter dreams of, and facing Conor on such a historic card would be massive for his career and for the sport. Conor remains one of the biggest names in MMA, and a showdown between these two would guarantee global attention. Oliveira's call-out adds to the growing list of fighters eager to secure a spot on the White House event. With his reputation as one of the most dangerous finishers in UFC history, a clash between Oliveira and Conor would have all the ingredients of a blockbuster fight. It's clear that if the UFC moves forward with this card, Oliveira wants to be part of the main stage. Moving on to another news, Chael has shared his thoughts on how to make a massive fight between Jon Jones and Alex Pereira a reality. According to Chael, the best way to make this bout happen is for Jones to move back down to light heavyweight and challenge Pereira for the 205-pound title. Chael believes this would not only make the fight possible, but would also add a world championship to the mix, making it one of the biggest events in UFC history. Chael explained his idea clearly, saying that if he were in Jon Jones's position and saw the excitement building around a potential fight with Pereira, he wouldn't let the opportunity pass. He would make the smart move by saying, "I'll fight you, and I'll even fight for your title. I'll see you at 205 pounds. This, Chael believes, would instantly change everything. The narrative would shift, and the UFC would have a blockbuster title fight on their hands. Right now, there's a lot of buzz surrounding a potential clash between these two champions. Jon Jones currently rules the heavyweight division, while Pereira is the light heavyweight king. Many fans have speculated about a possible super fight between them, but weight class has always been a major question mark. Chael's suggestion opens up a realistic path to making this dream fight happen, with Jones cutting down instead of Pereira bulking up. Chael emphasized that this would be a game changer. If Jones makes the move to 205, it's no longer just a fun idea. It becomes a legitimate world title fight with massive implications for both divisions. This scenario would not only deliver a historic matchup, but also create one of the most talked about UFC events in recent years. The moment Chael shared his take, it immediately sparked excitement among fans and analysts. The idea of seeing Jon Jones return to his old division to face a dangerous and explosive striker like Alex Pereira has fight fans buzzing. It's a matchup that carries legacy, power, and a massive spotlight. Moving on to another news, Strickland has shared his honest take on a potential showdown between Alex Pereira and Jon Jones. In an interview with MMA Junkie, Strickland said that if there's anyone who can beat Jon Jones, it's Alex. He explained that Jones is an incredible wrestler with elite-level athleticism, but Alex is one of the toughest guys to take down in the division. Strickland broke it down by pointing out that Alex naturally carries a defensive stance that makes him extremely difficult to control on the ground. He said that if anyone wants to have success against Alex, they better have him tired because that's the only real opening. When he's fresh, taking him down is close to impossible. Strickland highlighted Alex's power, calling it the death punch. He made it clear that when Alex lands clean, it's lights out for anyone standing in front of him. He also spoke about training with Alex, saying he loves working with him because Alex is the kind of fighter who absorbs every bit of advice and drills it relentlessly. He called Alex a once-in-a-lifetime kind of athlete, comparing his raw knockout power to legends like Chuck Liddell. According to Strickland, some fighters just have that special ingredient, and Alex is one of them. Strickland also brought up Ankalaev, calling him his boy. He praised Ankalaev's technical skill and ability, saying that if Ankalaev were to write a book on MMA, it would be massive because of how much he knows and how well he executes inside the cage. Strickland considers him one of the most skilled fighters in the world. But even with all that skill, he admitted that Ankalaev doesn't have what he calls the secret sauce. Alex, however, does. Strickland wrapped it up by emphasizing how unique Alex is. He's not just powerful, but incredibly sharp and adaptable. In his eyes, Jon Jones is a legend with wrestling skills on a different level, but Alex has that rare weapon that can change the outcome of any fight in a single moment. If the two ever meet inside the octagon, Strickland believes Alex has what it takes to shock the world. Moving on to another news, Eddie Hearn didn't hold back when talking about Dana White and the UFC. During a recent appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, the boxing promoter went straight to the point and strongly criticized the UFC's fighter pay structure and overall profit split. Hearn made it clear that he believes if revenue sharing in the UFC was fair, fighters would be making 5 to 6 times more money than they currently do. He explained it in his usual straightforward style, saying that at the end of the day, the fighters are the product. They are the reason people buy pay-per-views, fill arenas, and tune in worldwide. He pointed out that when a fighter sells out an arena or racks up huge PPV numbers, that fighter should be rewarded like the star they are. According to Hearn, the UFC's current system is built in a way where fighters don't actually know how much money is in the pot, and that's a huge problem. He said, "What time does the UFC fighter go? Hang on a minute, how much money is in the pot? You kind of need me, don't you? I'm the talent. Without me, do you even have a show? Maybe you can put someone else on, but I just sold this arena out. I'm the one bringing in 400,000 to 500,000 pay-per-view buys. I'd actually like to see what the numbers are." He compared it to boxing, where when you get a fighter of a certain magnitude, like Anthony Joshua, the power dynamic shifts. In that situation, the star essentially owns the show. Hearn continued, "Imagine you said to a star in the UFC, right? It's your show. We're going to open the books, and you're going to take 80% of the profit, and we'll take 20%. Imagine how much UFC fighters would be making. 5, 6, even 7 times more than what they're getting now." He admitted that this kind of talk probably isn't making him very popular with UFC executives, but he stood firm, saying it's simply the truth. He emphasized that UFC fighters are fighting without any understanding of how much revenue is being generated from their performances. These guys don't care because, and by the way, it's their business. They can do what they want. If they can get away with that model, good luck to them, he added. But Hearn didn't stop there. He pointed out how the UFC's current pay model is structured like a league or contender series, where fighters might get $50,000 to show, $100,000 if they win, and then maybe $200,000 after that. To him, those numbers are peanuts compared to the massive revenue that's being generated. He also brought up broadcast rights, saying, how much are they getting from Paramount? If it's multi-million dollars per show for the rights fee, which it probably is, the profit is unbelievable. Eddie Hearn's comments highlight a long-standing debate in combat sports, how much fighters should be paid compared to what the organizations make. And once again, it puts the spotlight right on Dana White and the UFC's business model.